we as humans spend about a third of our day sleeping, and it's still sort of unclear why, but we've done a lot of experiments to try to figure out some characteristics of sleep and maybe figure out an answer to why we do it. And we found this thing called a sleep cycle, which is sort of we go through a pattern every night, and I'll explain that here. Sleep cycle. But first, the experiment that we did is we took a guy, it could be anybody, and we put little electrodes all over him. I'll try to draw. And yeah, so we put a little wires stuck to his head, stuck to his scalp, and they all fed into a big machine. And it would print out on a piece of paper the electrical activity that was going on in his brain. And it wouldn't produce like a picture of his brain like an MRI or a PET scan would, but it just sort of gave these sheets of paper that were really long because they would run all night long, and little needles would draw squiggly lines all over it. And what we found is there are patterns to this. When people are awake, it's a really fine, jaggedy squiggle like that. It doesn't really go too far. And then when they're in the deepest part of sleep, we noticed that it just sort of has big, wavy, lazy cycles. That's not a great picture. I don't really know how to draw it. But just sort of waves. They're called delta waves. And so through this, we noticed an overarching pattern, which I will show you here. This is Hypnogram, and it just means a picture of the person's mind while they're sleeping, roughly. So we see that this is when they're going to sleep. That's this is time, midnight to 6:30. And then the first thing they go into is REM sleep, which is the special one. And I will talk about that very shortly. But anyway, we see they start out in the special sleep and they drop right down all the way into the deepest stage. This is stage 4, which I think has recently been kind of combined with stage 3 into just one. But this is the deepest stage, deep sleep, and if you get awoken from this, you probably will be very groggy for a little while, and you won't be at your maximum mental potential. You'll still be sort of asleep, and if you awake from this, it's called sleep inertia. Deep sleep inertia. Like you stay inert, or inert means it's kind of resistance to change, so you sort of stay asleep even if you're walking around. And I think you've seen that if you put cereal in the refrigerator and stuff like that, you're suffering from sleep inertia. And the interesting thing is that we don't just go to deep sleep and then stay here all night and then wake up. We go through all this other stuff towards the end. We jump back up into REM, which I'll tell you, REM stands for rapid eye movement. And this is the most interesting and cool part of sleep, rapid eye movement. And it's pretty descriptive name. It just means that your eyes move back and forth in their eyelid. It's just, the eye is still closed, but the person's eye is going back and forth like they're watching a tennis match or something. And this is also when dreams occur. Rapid eye movement leads to dreams. And as far as we know, I don't think dreams occur in any other stage. It's just when the eyes are going back and forth. And if you have a dream that you're doing something vertical, like climbing a ladder, the eyes still go back and forth. Interesting little note here. So anyway, the times when you dream, you have maybe 1 or 2 dreams here, and then getting towards the time that you're supposed to wake up, you start having more dreams, you see? And that's kind of interesting, and you usually would only remember maybe this last dream of the night. And then this graph, I don't see this on every graph, but this one says there's periods of brief awakening, which I think would just be, if you wake up and realize you're hot and flip over or kick off covers or something. So it's not like you get up and go get a glass of water, but maybe you would right there. I tend to get glasses of water at 3 in the morning. And let's see. What else is interesting about this? Oh yeah, rapid eye movement. The cool thing is these brain diagrams that I showed you. is during REM sleep. Well, I should write this is the delta waves. This is like stage 4, and then this is awake. Okay, so this is your brain constantly going back and forth and processing all the information. It never really goes too far from center. And then when you're deep sleep, it's just kind of lazily going back and forth. This is just electric potential, positive and negative. It doesn't have any real analog to anything. But then in REM sleep, this is the interesting part. During REM sleep, when you're dreaming, dream sleep, what do you think your brainwaves look like? They look exactly like when you're awake. Quick, jaggedy lines. And so this is kind of like you're not even asleep as far as this EEG would tell you. I forgot. This machine is an EEG, electroencephalograph. The electro means it's studying electricity. Graph means it's drawing a picture. I don't know about encephalo. Maybe that's a Latin word for brain or something. This is just a quick overview of sleep. Lots of interesting things happen while you're asleep, but now you know about REM, and so you can think about the band, and when people talk about dreams and stuff, talking in your sleep would happen during REM. And now you know why sometimes you feel groggy if you get woken up a couple hours after you go to sleep versus just a little bit early. And so you can try to use this cycle to your advantage, because it does go in 24-hour periods, or sometimes 24 or 25 hours, sorry, but it averages out to 24. And so then if you can go to bed and wake up at the same time every night, then your body starts to predict that, which is nice. If you go to bed at, well, we'll use this. If you go to bed at midnight every night and you wake up at 6:30 every morning, then your body or your brain will already be, on this upward slant stage of its sleep cycle, and then you'll wake up feeling refreshed and ready for the day, versus if you miss it, then you might wake up right here and then you're still asleep and you're not quite ready for the day. You'll be a little groggier. I'll probably make some more videos about sleep before I'm done with this playlist, but there's some interesting things to get you started.